Welcome to DataBytez. It is Patrick once again. Today's topic is on the pillar of life and how reputation is everything. So as you go through life, you might think, my reputation, you might not even give thought to your reputation, but in fact, it is one of the most important things in determining your success outside of, relationships and technical ability and your ability to navigate socially, which are all very important in varying degrees, but reputation will follow you. And how you are known to operate will determine a great many opportunity that falls into your lap. So let's look at the echoes through time. In this case, Friedrich Nietzsche, German philosopher, essayist, and cultural critic. It is easier to cope with a bad conscience than a bad reputation, so that hopefully sets the tone. But if that's not enough, we can go to a modern context. Reputation has a power like magic. With one stroke of its wand, it can double your strength. It can also send people scurrying away from you. Whether the exact same deeds appear brilliant or dreadful can depend entirely on the reputation of the doer. Make your reputation simple and base it on one sterling quality. This single quality, efficiency, say, or seductiveness, becomes a kind of calling card that announces your presence and places others under a spell. A reputation for honesty will allow you to practice all manner of deception. Now, that last part may seem a little bit immoral, but just to understand a little bit of context about the 48 Laws of Power, it's actually more of an amoral stance, which is partly inspired from Niccolo Machiavelli. And maybe you've heard the term something Machiavellian. And it's very immoral. It's neither good nor bad. It's just the fact is that your reputation can be used in multiple ways. You can use it to deceive. You can use it to create a good opportunity. You can make your effort seem wonderful or make it seem terrible, depending on your reputation. That's more of what your reputation can do. You shouldn't look at it as necessarily that you should use your reputation for deceiving. It's just that is a possible outcome. But I hope you can see a theme is that reputation is important. And something particularly important about this passage, about the modern context here, is that you should base your reputation around a single sterling quality. Now, this actually has a psychological component, something called a heuristic. Now, heuristics are kind of a fancy way of saying rule of thumb. And a mental heuristic, cognitive heuristics, whatever the term that people like to call them, is basically our mental rule of thumbs. Things that we see and then interpret and say like, this must be the case. And when we base a reputation on a single quality, this actually has a psychological component known as the halo effect, leveraging the halo effect. And so what is that? The halo effect is our tendency to observe a positive quality in someone or something and then extrapolate from that positive quality, concluding that the person or object has a set of multiple unobserved positive qualities. A halo. The halo effect activates multiple related cognitive biases and mental heuristics. I should have quoted the book, but it's actually, I believe it comes from Andre. The last name eludes me, but How Highly Effective People Speak. I believe that's what the name of the book. And the halo effect is one of the things he discusses, and it's for a good point, because again, reputation is important. So basing it around one good quality allows this effect to be activated, and so people will think you are better than you are. And I used to work with someone who they couldn't understand why everything they did seemed wrong. So I would make a mistake, and they would make a mistake. But it seems that whenever I made a mistake, things were kind of brushed aside. It's like, it wasn't a big deal. But when they made a mistake, it was a big problem. It seemed like it would result in, I guess, a berating from the boss saying like, oh my God, how could you make this mistake again? And I tried to explain to them, because I was reading these kinds of things at the time, that it's because they've ruined their reputation. And so every additional mistake hits so much harder because they already have an established reputation of not being a good worker. And on the flip side, I had established myself as being someone you can rely on. And so when I made a mistake, it was like, oh, well, it's okay. You're good. And they didn't really understand. It's like, oh, well, it's a mistake. It's the thing is that we aren't, while we try, and even I try to be objective, we all are going to fail. Even being aware of these heuristics, the problem is in the moment, when you're separated from the moment, you can be like, yes, this is what's happening. But when you're in it, when you're in the middle of it, it's very hard to stop these heuristics from activating and not just falling into it. Because the fact is that we are dealing with a lot of information. The world is complex, and our brain strives for simplicity. Because thought consumes calories, consumes energy. If you spend too much time thinking, something bad can happen and you're not reacting. Our brain is trying to get things through as efficiently, as effectively as possible. And so it uses these rule of thumbs to kind of go through. And this is also what opens up people to deception very often, because they see something good. So what scammers kind of prey on is that, they come at you with a smile, they're very friendly, and so the halo effect again activates. This person is being friendly, this person is being very kind. They must have good intentions at heart. But it's really just our brain trying to jump to conclusions because it observes one good quality. So, this comes to the question, when establishing your own reputation, what do you want to shoot for? Now, Robert Greene gives saying you should base it around one quality, and that is a good rule of thumb because it allows you to not get so bogged down in all the potentialities of where you want your reputation to go. But I find 3 qualities as the best things to lean on, and I kind of order them in importance on what you should do. And so here are the 3 qualities, and this is kind of what I base my reputation on. It's 1, doing what you say. Do what you say. It sounds so simple, it's almost stupid. But the reality is there's a lot of people who do not do what they say. Whenever it's time to put rubber to the road, they back out, they don't follow through. No, anything you say, you must do. This also makes you should be very careful about what you say. Don't just say things. Mean it. Act on it. That is number 1, doing what you say. 2 is being pleasant to work with and be around. Now, why is this number 2 and you say not number 1? Because people will tolerate people they don't like if they get things done. That's just the reality of things. Often in the professional world, people will tolerate you because you get the things that they need done. Because they know when the chips are down, they can depend on you. But it is important to be pleasant. So if you're not pleasant at first, doing what you say comes first, and then the next priority will be being pleasant. And then finally, number 3 is just don't complain. Don't complain. Shut up. Keep your complaints to yourself. This kind of lies in part with being pleasant, but sometimes we can find camaraderie in complaining about the same thing. Don't complain. Complain at home, complain with your friends, but wherever you're trying to establish a reputation, don't be caught complaining. And I argue saying you shouldn't complain out loud, because the problem is sometimes you might slip up and you might get used to saying something and there's someone records you or something, because there's so much recording going on nowadays, someone can catch you. Just don't, unless it's face to face with someone you trust. But I've there was one person I remember that came through at the job once, and people liked him at first. He was fairly pleasant. I don't know if he did what he said very often. I didn't work with him that closely, but he was pleasant. He was cool. Problem was, he started getting on people's nerves because all he did was complain. And when you complain, especially when you keep complaining and you don't do anything to fix it, people really lose their patience. And he ended up not being very popular, especially with the girls, because for some reason he really loved complaining with the girls. Say what you will about that, but just don't do it. So there are your three. Those are the three guidances I'm giving you. Do what you say, be pleasant, and never complain. Now, something important to understand about reputation. Once you have ruined your reputation, it cannot be easily recovered. I'm sure you've seen it with internet celebrities all the time. Like, for some reason, internet celebrities are the ones that are always trying to make a apology video for whatever reason. Apology post, blah, 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 blah. No. Once your reputation is destroyed, once you've ruined it, it's not really recovered. Think about it like glass. Now, you can recycle glass, but it involves usually, if I'm kind of getting this right, it to be heated up again to a molten degree so it can be reshaped and reformed. And again, it's a great analogy. I believe that's what it is. You have to put a lot of energy into fixing it, and there's no guarantee it'll be even the same shape again. And it's also another saying where it comes like, it takes years to establish trust, but it takes seconds to ruin it. And there are options for you once you have ruined your reputation, because people such as, what's his name? Jordan Belfort. Someone who ruined his reputation on Wall Street by scamming people, and his life was made into the very popular Scorsese film Wolf of Wall Street, which if you haven't seen, absolutely go watch it. It's a great movie. But even him, with the way he sullied his reputation, he's actually making a great living now. People love listening to him, and he's able to build back trust. He was able to build it back. But it was not easy. And even to this day, he still gets marred with certain questions like, how much of the money did you give back? Or, the question will inevitably rise up, like, how'd you do your scam? And again, it's all been well documented. It's all been known. A movie was made out of it. So it's very well known what he did. But he can't escape those questions. And it's just because it was ruined. And so he'll always have to deal with that. And sometimes it can be pretty bad. But what are your options? So you have one, trying to get back in the good graces of your target. Whoever you broke your reputation with, you can try to reestablish it. It's going to take a monumental investment in energy. It's going to take you really working your butt off, but it's not always guaranteed. It's not always guaranteed. And the second one is starting again. Just go somewhere else. You can just go somewhere else. If you ruin your reputation, for instance, at a job, chances are you're not going to be able to get it back. Better off going to a new job. If you ruined your reputation here. Now, sometimes social media makes this a bit hard. The internet makes it a bit hard. Your things tend to follow you. Back in the day when information wasn't so easily shareable, when it was so easily transmissible, you could just pack up and go. It wouldn't be such a big deal. And that's one of the downsides of, I believe one of the downsides of the internet and technology, is that it makes it harder for people to have a second chance. I remember it was a couple years ago, whatever, it was Kevin Hart wanted to host the Oscars, right? And there was a debacle where, and for those who don't know, Kevin Hart is a comedian. You could be watching this 50 years from now and you're like, who the hell is Kevin Hart? He was a very well-known comedian, and he wanted to host the Academy Awards, aka the Oscars, where they were award out trophies to the best performing movies. And some group, whatever, uncovered a series of tweets, or a couple tweets that he made years prior, probably decades prior if I remember right. And they weren't the best tweets. And it incited a riot amongst the people who make a lot of noise on the internet. And he ended up stepping down from something that was his dream. And so that's kind of the horrible part of the internet. It can make starting again kind of hard. So be mindful of the digital footprint that you leave out there. Be careful about what you say. Again, going back to the earlier point, doing what you say should make you more careful about what you say. And it's something about being mindful about. And if you keep that in mind and you keep practicing that kind of philosophy, in time it will be easier to censor yourself when you need to, and who to censor yourself around. But starting again is an option. And if the internet won't let you, sometimes you just need to go to a different place geographically. Might even need to change your name, man. So that's also a possibility. But at the end of the day, you can always reinvent yourself. Your reputation right now is not the reputation you will have. The reputation you build will not always be the reputation you keep. Reputation is a very fickle concept, meaning it can change very, very readily depending on what your actions are. But always strive to have a good one. Again, focus it on a good quality. If you don't want to follow mine exact steps, like for whatever reason you don't like them, the core principle is that you should at least base it on one to leverage the halo effect. Focus on one good quality. Maybe it's reliability. Maybe it's being nice. Whatever it is, activate the bias that we have, the heuristic that we have, that we all carry. Because most people aren't aware of it, where they will see one good quality and extrapolate from there thinking that you must be an amazing person. So focus on that, whatever your choice be, and go out and become the best person you can be so you can establish that reputation. And as always, this has been another video from DataBytez. Stay data driven. I'll catch you at another time. Have a great one. Bye.